always our own worst critic, and we put ourselves down all the time. When we do something wrong, when we mess up something, when we make a mistake, when we embarrass ourselves, when we're not in a place where we think we should be in life, we blame ourselves. And, there's nothing beneficial about that. So the first step to self-acceptance is to think of something that you did in the past. Revisit your past a little bit, and I know it may be painful. And tell yourself that you did the best you could at the time. You did the best you could at that time. Now, the reason I say best is this can mean two things. Maybe you did, at that time, give 100% effort, and something still just didn't work out. The mistake was still made. You were still hard on yourself, even though you did the best. Well, what if you reframe it as you did what you thought was right at the time? I think of the mistakes I've made in the past. If you go back to, when you're a teenager and growing up, and our minds are a little smaller and the world is a little more compact and we're not as smart and open-minded as we are now. And it's easy to think that in that moment that you thought you were doing the right thing. You thought you knew it all. It's easy to have a large ego at that age. You thought you knew it all, you thought you were doing the right thing, and you thought you were doing the best thing. At that moment in time, you did the best you could. You thought what you were doing was the right thing. Sure, it was wrong now, but not at that moment. And you can't change that. So that's accepting the mistakes that we make in the past as noticing that I was somebody else back then. I don't have control over that person. I'm not that person anymore. The second step towards self-acceptance is to know that perfection isn't the goal. The point of life is not to avoid failure. The failures and the mistakes are what make us better human beings. Acknowledge that perfection isn't the goal. Acknowledge that life is imperfect in itself. Know that there's going to be mistakes and there's going to be plenty of hard times ahead. No matter how much you prepare, there's going to be mistakes made. And know that that's okay. Because if you have the expectation that you're going to make no mistakes, you're setting yourself up to be disappointed. You're setting yourself up to not accepting what life actually has to offer. Number 3, we can think of self-acceptance as self-satisfaction. Are you satisfied with yourself? Do you like where you are in life? Are you happy with who you are? Right? And if we're not satisfied with something, or if we are dissatisfied, well, we can look at what things we can do to change that, to be more satisfied with our life situation and who we are. So are there things that you're dissatisfied with? And if there are, what actions can you take to solve that? Because when we have unsolved problems in our lives, which there always will be, but the very first step is to have an action plan. Note that there are problems, but more importantly, note that there are things we can do about them, that we have the power, right? We have the power to solve them. So part of that self-acceptance is to know that I have the power to solve all of these problems and everything I'm dissatisfied with in my life. Number 4, okay, I know that it's really, really easy to look at the negative all the time. Of course, it's way easier when we think of our past, the things that really stick, the things that we constantly think of. Well, those are the mistakes. Those are the times we messed up. We think of the times where we had no control and we were taken advantage of. We think of the hard times and the suffering in our past. But believe it or not, you have a lot of good in your past that you can reflect on. A lot of times where you faced a problem head on. A lot of times where you thought you couldn't do something and you did it. When you faced a fear head on. When you were really proud of yourself. When you were truly happy. That's self-acceptance, to know that I did a great job. I'm continuing to do a great job. I know deep within my being that I am worthy to be here. That I'm worthy to be loved by me. things. Number 5, last and definitely not least, we have uniqueness. Just think of what makes you unique. What do you really like about yourself? This can be so simple. It doesn't have to be a big thing. We don't have to play the comparison game. Well, it's knowing that you specifically have something to offer, no matter how many people love us. If someone says great job to you, if someone says I love you, if someone says you're compassionate, you're empathetic, you're an incredible human being, that doesn't mean anything to us if we don't believe it ourselves. If we don't have that self-compassion and self-love, if we don't like where we are in life, or we can't congratulate ourselves and give ourselves a pat on the back, what other people tell us doesn't mean anything. It starts with you. It starts with self-love. It starts with accepting our past failures. It starts with knowing that life isn't perfect. It starts with knowing that life is extremely difficult and no one has an easy time. That's something we're not unique with. Everyone goes through hard times. Everyone struggles with this exact thing, this exact idea of self-love. We all struggle with from time to time. That's why we have to work at it. That's why mental health and training our minds and being present and working on self-improvement and self-growth is a lifetime skill. It's a lifetime practice. You don't go to the gym once. That's not it. You go to the gym 3 times a week for the rest of your life to maintain health, maintain the muscle and physique that you want. Same with the mind. You can't meditate once and think that you're going to be happy for the rest of your life and super zen.